welcome back. We're talking about small groups, starting a new series on small group strategy and how to develop a good, healthy small group ministry in your church. Today, we're talking about idea number 2 in the small group strategy and how to develop a really strong small group ministry. And today, I want to talk about developing a really good study on what it means to be in a small group. A lot of people, they get into a small group, and sometimes if we've been to church for all our lives or for a long time, for those of us really experienced, we just assume that everyone knows what it means to be in a small group. I feel like a lot of us think that small groups are so social, so we just assume like, oh, everyone kind of understands this is kind of like a social fellowship type of group, which is kind of true, but not true. So that's not a really good way of viewing small groups. But because we assume a lot of things, there's a lot of things that happens within the small group dynamics that people maybe don't understand, and it creates some minor issues later. So we really want to set up the small group as best as possible. And what you really want to do is really develop it yourself, a kind of like a short 4-week, maybe even a 6-week study on what it means to be in a small group. So do some research. There's a lot of studies like this already out there. Maybe there's one out there that you just want to choose and it has them go through the group. But what you're looking for is like basics of a small group. Simple things like how to communicate with one another, like what to say and what not to say, and what happens when you disagree with someone, how to be relational, what it means to kind of come together and challenge each other or pray for one another. These are all things that I think are very important for a small group to learn and study together. Because remember, when you get 8, 10, 12 people together, they're coming from all different backgrounds, social backgrounds. They have all different opinions of what it means to be together. Some people come into the group thinking that these guys are all going to be my best friends. And some people are like, well, I just want to know you guys and spend time with you guys once a week, but don't text me every other day. I don't really like doing that. So these are things that you really want to all bring out on the table from the very beginning. So doing a short study on what it means to be a small group is really, really important. You really want to make sure that the small group understands how to relate with one another, the goal of the small group, that this small group is not just for socializing and fellowshipping and just hanging out and eating a meal. That's actually one of the most dangerous ways to do small group. But you want to get them together, know that, hey, we're here to do faith-based content. We're here to speak wisdom into each other's lives. We're here to share openly. What does that mean? How much time does that take? And so you really want to make sure that there is a study, probably it's the first study they do when they start meeting, of what it means to be in a small group. Do some research, but again, I really think this is something that you should develop on your own. It's something that you really want to think about. Like, think about it yourself. Like, what is the goal of the small group? In your ideal mind, what is the most ideal, healthy small group? What are they doing for 90 minutes? And then after you think of that answer, think, well, how are you going to get there? What is required to get to that goal? And after you think about how to get there, then you start thinking about, okay, so how would I split that up? What do they need to do every single week, topic-wise? And then in that topic, they're going to learn about the how to get to the goal. And then you start thinking about different studies, different topics, and create your own study. So I think in that study, communication is really important. In that study, you really want to talk about maybe the dangers of small group. That's pretty important. Of course, you want to talk about the goal of the small group, accountability and growing in discipleship, all that stuff. That's very, very important. And so think about some of these topics, do some research. There's a lot out there. Maybe just choose something if you want to, but really make sure this is one of the first study that the small group does when they start meeting, when you launch them out, however you do that. In my last video, I talked about kind of small group launches, and from that point, you kind of kick them out of your church and they start meeting in the home, but that's probably the first study you want them doing. Real quick, have you ever done anything like this before? If you have, can you comment down below? Let me know your ideas, what you tried, maybe what was really challenging for you. Let me know. I'll help you with that. I'll answer your questions. If you want to develop a small group strategy, keep on watching these videos. It's a series that I'm doing right now. If you missed last week, this is what I talked about in terms of small group strategy. Small group ministry is really important. It's the best side door to kind of get them to the front door. And I hope you keep on watching this series.